Howdy, pals. Welcome back to another episode of the Pullbox Pals. Monk and I are riding in on our steeds, ready to talk some comics.
I like
I was
like
just trying to get you to laugh.
You did it. I like how you went for the cowboy theme. I thought we were gonna go something a little bit more gangster because I could see down on our little screen here, peek behind the curtain, and we were definitely both jamming to the music.
Yeah.
I need to do the public a favor and release like a full version of that. And by that I mean like just double that in length, pretty much. Like because lo-fi hip-hop songs are like a minute and a half.
Yeah.
So
get some lyrics for it.
No, you leave it instrumental.
We're the Pullbox Pals. We're here to talk comics.
See, I don't. Okay, so here now that we're on this, I don't think people are going to care about this, so I'll keep it short. But when I first started writing music, that's how I would write songs because I played the keys in a band. So my songs were like that dee dee that, and I would sing this like the exact melody that I was playing, and I grew to hate that because it's not talent to just be like I'm doing the same thing that I'm doing,
So we'll call my thing a draft.
Yeah. Not that I was like, I guess I was like, there's no talent in what you just did.
There's no talent here.
No, there's plenty of talent. That was the first draft. And then my second draft is going to be, we just leave it instrumental. And people can freestyle over it. Well, it'll be like one of those beats that like rappers use. I don't know any current rappers, which makes me feel real old. But
gives me an idea. That? I'm not gonna talk about it on air yet. I gotta.
Okay. Well, whatever the idea is, no one's
let it bloom in my mind and then bring it to you.
Yeah, in bloom, like a Nirvana song. We're back on music. I guess we never go off music.
We never do. It's always playing.
What are you listening to nowadays, Mad? What do you listen to?
Well, we kind of talked about this last week a little bit.
I guess that's true.
Just like kind of like seasonal music.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I ever like said what mine was, but usually when spring rolls around, I get back into like the early 90s music / punk rock. And by early 90s, I'm talking like Beastie Boys, like Smashing Pumpkins, Green Day, like their early albums.
That what they call alternative rock, which essentially just became like rock.
Yeah. So I guess spring is always a nostalgic time for me because I'm listening to stuff I listened to when I was growing up.
I feel that a little bit.
But like I honestly throughout the year I don't consume a whole lot of new music.
That's understandable.
I've gotten to that age. Like I remember when I was a kid and my best friend's dad listened to like the 80s butt rock, and we were just like, why is he so into this stuff? We eventually grew to appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
But like I'm kind of at that point where I'm like, it's also like in a scene in Paul Rudd's movie. I think it's So This Is 40. And he's like dancing to a jam from like back then, and his wife and girls are dancing to the latest like Beyonce song or whatever. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the stage I'm at in relationship with music and how the rest of my family does music.
That's fair. That's very understandable. I would imagine that if there's music being listened to, it's the kids that get say over what you're listening to.
Yeah. So
that's very fair.
So lately, probably for the last 2 weeks, if I'm listening to music, I have it on Beastie Boys radio on Spotify. That's what
I bet that's a lot of fun.
Which actually, like, it's a good one because it also like do you know Run the Jewels?
I'm familiar with them. I don't really know them very well.
I mean, I can't remember when their first album came out, but it's like 2000s, something
Mhm.
something in there. But yeah, they come up in this playlist a lot. I freaking love Run the Jewels. So it's nice to get like I get all this 90s nostalgia, and then every once in a while this like newer thing will pop on there as well that's pretty fitting. So
Nice.
um yeah.
Yeah, I talked to a friend of mine, and we were talking about there's been some studies done, as there is always, about how you reach a certain age and the music that you listen to, you get like a higher hit of dopamine when you
Yeah.
like listen to music from like your childhood. And it's like, yeah, that's obviously like understandable. It's it's just it just becomes finer with years, you
Yeah.
learn to appreciate it. It reminds you of simpler times, all that stuff. When I was working at the weed farm, I listened to a lot of 90s like alt rock, because I was a maintenance guy, and my dad was a truck driver. And when I used to do like I would go on routes with him from time to time, and we would listen to a lot of like alt rock in the truck. And
Nice.
so that's my like working man music in my head, even though it's
Yeah.
probably realistically more like Metallica and Led Zeppelin and like those kind of music that I never really got into.
Yeah.
Which I like, as I've gotten older, I'm starting to do the reverse of that a little bit, though, because I feel, and this is more the musician in me, of just remorse of all the music I missed.
Yeah. That's why I've always like forced myself into like genre studies of music. Like when
Mhm.
I was in school, I did a full report on like the blues music, and it just gave me not only a greater appreciation of blues music, but also just appreciation of all the music that's come out after, because pretty
Mhm.
much everything we listen to these days and everything that's written is inspired by American blues.
Yeah. It's
So,
amazing. It's just such a fascinating, f you know, turn of events that you can just watch and see how. And especially in America, where it's a melting pot, and so many different cultures have brought in so many different types of music. And
yeah.
so, like, you getting like, uh, I mean, you bring in like African beats and folk music, and you get like like not the blues, but like early rock and roll, and
Yeah.
just like early blues, really. Like, it's crazy just to see how like this
The
stuff comes
evolution
together.
of music since we've been able to share it worldwide.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I love that music always goes absurd. That like the end of something is always just like, "Ah!" Like it's just the craziest version of it.
Yeah.
Um, but anyways, we're not called the music man friends.
The
Oh, that's
bill
no good.
the
The
Billboard
bill
buddies.
the Billboard buddies. That's a lot better than whatever crap I tried to say. Um,
But yeah, we are here to talk comics, and so I got a question for you. You ready?
uh, no, hold on. I just shared this post on Facebook, and my phone just auto corrected comics to Connie, so I just went with it.
Oh
Anyways,
yeah,
yeah,
that's what. Well, did you make it to your local comic book shop today?
I made it to my local Connie shop, and
Nice.
yeah, I left work a little bit later than normal today, so we were both in a hurry today. We were both like
Oh
in a
yeah,
rush through our comic book shops, which isn't my ideal way of going to the comic shop. I like to be able to
no,
browse, but I do go right after work, and I know I have pups sitting in a crate at home, so I feel bad just being like, "Oh, what's Spider-Man up to this week?" You know?
yeah.
Like, I just wanna be able to get home and let them out. But anyways, I did make it, and you were because you were busy, I posted my, pool video first this week, and
This
in
is
it,
true.
when I was getting ready, I noticed that all the comics that I got this week were, Image comics, which I guess
Every
technically.
single one is an Image comic.
Yep.
Wow.
And I'm bummed. So I got there, like I said, a little bit later than I normally do, but not by much, like half an hour, if anything. And my comic book shop will mark on the shelves with a little hanging sign that says new under the comics that are new. So
Yeah.
like it's really easy then to just see like what came out that week. It's super helpful. Um, but
Wait. So like, it's So they put it. This is the new comic. So is it like is it all like alphabetized, and so like everything's still sitting on the shelf,
No,
like,
it's
or
all
is
like
there a section of new comics?
no, it's like everything is still on the shelves. So it's like if like for example, if my wall behind me right here was a comic store, like the
Uh-huh.
comic store that I go to, like this would be DC, this is all Marvel, and then like over here would be all Image or all independent stuff going on to like a bigger wall.
Yeah.
So it's literally almost like a very similar structure to that. And then they just leave everything up on the wall, and then under it, they'll just put up a little sign that says new. And then so you
Okay.
just know what came out that week. And then you can just look at everything else. I like shops that do have like this is like what came out this week. That's
Yeah,
cool.
my shop has the new release shelf. So
Okay.
it's like everything that came out is all on one shelf in alphabetical order, and then when the next lot comes in, they take those and put them with the rest and put the new ones up.
I mean, that sounds very convenient, but it is nice to just like walk amongst the comics, you know?
Yeah, no, that's
So,
true. Because you
um,
might see a cover you never saw before that changed your life.
yeah, or I mean, yeah, like there's been times where I'm like on a slow week, I'm just looking around then, and just I mean, not that you wouldn't do that on a slow week normally, but anyways, this is a good call to action that we never do. Let us know how your comic book shop organizes their
Their new
comics.
releases, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so everything I got this week was from Image, and I feel nervous saying that because now I feel like one's just gonna pop out, and I'm like, oh no, I'm a fool. I forgot about whatever.
It happens.
Sometimes you're a fool on the internet, and I feel
Hmm.
like it's gonna happen to everybody.
It
But
happens weekly here in the Pullbox Pals.
I like this cover, even though I feel like more could be happening in the background. But Duke number
Oh,
4,
nice.
yeah.
I
Uh,
agree with you. Like the background could have a little more going on in it.
so this next one, I feel like you most likely have as well, and I feel like I don't even want to
We'll
show off
find out.
the cover. Like it's risk. It's not risky. It's like again, the comic that I'm about to show off is an homage to 90s Image comics. And this is very much like a 90s Image cover for Local Man number 10 Bad Girls. It
Oh, I
just
definitely picked that up. Yeah.
yeah, it just feels like it's just like it's a bit too much. But it also is just like that's what like everybody on Instagram looks like. So I'm like, okay. I guess it's just like the world that we live in anymore.
Yep.
Um
Thanks,
it-
90s.
yeah. So this next one I'm pretty stoked on is Furl, and it
Farrell?
looks Feral,
Yeah.
Will Ferrell. And seems like it's like a cat zombie story. I'm not
Oh,
100% what it or like maybe like felines. Oh, it's rabies. So like the last page I just looked and there's a thing for rabies. So this is yeah. So okay, so it is kind of probably going to be like set up in like a like zombie type of thing, but it's just rabies.
yeah.
And I mean, I'm going to be honest, I'm not a big fan of like comics from like pets perspective, which we'll talk about later. Um but I won't say I shouldn't say that I'm not a big fan. I just feel like it's a very easy way to like go to straight to somebody's emotions, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, uh I'll get back to that later as
Yeah. We'll talk more about that
yeah.
coming soon in a
Yeah.
few minutes.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Maybe.
Maybe?
We'll find
Good.
out. We'll
We
get
sure
there.
will.
Yeah.
Anyways, my next comic is The Six Fingers, number 2. And
I think I got that too.
I never finished up number 1. So, and I haven't read uh The Other Hand or whatever the first one is.
The one hand.
The One Hand. You
Yeah.
can kind of gauge from how I'm interacting with this. I just the if I'm being honest, the first one just like didn't land with me. So like
Of the six fingers.
no, of
Yeah.
like both of them.
Oh,
Both of them.
really?
Yeah, they both just, like, didn't hit me good, which is a shame because, like, I love, like, everyone involved that I know, but, yeah, I I don't know. I just didn't enjoy it.
I'm kind of. This might be terrible to say. Uh, I know it's not all. It's not necessarily like. It's like it's two series from telling like the same story from a different perspective. That's essentially what it is.
But it's
I'm kind of treating it as like it is one sequential series, And issue 1 of the Six Fingers was very much like a bad issue 2 for me, which
Mm,
I've
that's
also
fair.
like for me, like if in a 5 issue arc, if number 2 is the worst one, I feel like that's probably the best kind of arc you can get.
And here's what I'll say, like, I didn't finish, like I said, I didn't finish number 1, so correct me if of the Six Fingers, so correct me if I'm wrong, but the guy isn't even really a bad guy in this yet.
Not
If
yet.
so, like, we're not see it's not a concurrent thing, it's a prequel, because the
Yeah,
detective in The Other Hand, or whatever it's called, The One Hand? What is it?
one hand.
One
Yeah,
Hand.
the one hand and the Six Fingers.
The One Hand and the Six Fingers. I'm gonna forget that by the end of this sentence. The, the detective in The One Hand, or One Hand, oh god, I did forget it. He has been talking about this has been like like a lifelong struggle for like this career-long battle with this guy. And
Yeah,
then we go over to the Six Fingers, and he's like get just out of college or in college or something like that.
he's like trying to get a grant for his graduate.
Right. And like I'm like, okay, so like this guy hasn't this guy's either been killing since he's an infant, or this is the origin story of the killer. But so it's
Mhm.
not a sequential thing. It's just you're finding out the backstory. And maybe like I'm gonna give the devil his due and say that I trust Rom V and the other writer who I can read right now, Dan Waters, who has written things that I enjoy. I feel like they're smart enough to like weave this in that it makes sense, like that stuff
Yeah.
is revealed and all that stuff. But like it just didn't hit for me. And like I can't tell you why, other than like it just wasn't what I was expecting, you know.
No, this is comics, man. They're all supposed to hit for you.
Oh no.
Just kidding.
But
No, like, and that's kind of my thoughts on it too, similarly, that like I really enjoyed issue 1 of the One Hand. I did not have like the same response to issue 1 of the Six Fingers.
mhm.
Um, but I do think that these two writers are going to give us a nice cohesive two-story saga here.
I
Uh,
agree.
I'm-
It's but I mean, I think I'd rather just read it in like a compendium where
you
it's
gonna
like
is it gonna be a build up? You gonna let it build up and then read them?
I don't know. I really don't like almost didn't pull it today. So
Hmm.
like I and they're both at number 2, so like this is the jumping off point, you know?
Yeah,
So like I probably should read it. I've got some time this weekend, so like I'll be able to get in more. But like yeah, I just maybe if I shotgun them like, you know, all 4, maybe just I'm going to do a fresh reset and like do maybe just try them that way. We'll see.
yeah.
I'm not gonna make any guarantees. The only guarantee I'm gonna make you is that I have one comic book left to say that I pulled this week, and it is Under York. Oh, I dropped it on my microphone. It is Under York,
Huh.
and yeah, I don't know what this is about at all, except it has a pentagram on it, so I would imagine it has something to do with magic. But the art inside was pretty cool. It looks kind of like a Marvel comic on the inside, honestly.
It does.
Maybe this is by somebody who's worked on Marvels. I mean, these are crazy names. I'm not going to try to say them like out of respect, but yeah, you can read them on the screen and then you can look them
Sylvan
up on.
Runberg. Oh, Mirka Andolfo. That's
Oh, Mad got them.
um uh Sweet Paprika.
Sweet. Are you? Is that what you said?
It's a
Is that a comic or an
yeah,
expression?
it's an image comic that
Sounds like an expression.
yeah.
Sweet paprika. I ran over the house cat. No,
Yeah,
sweet.
no, that's now a saying. It just became one. Coined here. Sweet paprika.
Sweet paprika. Uh, yeah. I mean, that sounds. I mean, that's probably an offensive stereotype that we were just doing of
We
some
did. I
random voice.
apologize.
No,
As
I'll
soon
just
as I
say sweet
finished, I
prep.
was like, what am I doing?
Let's see if I can say it in my normal voice.
Because
Sweet paprika. Oh no, this is another Comic Con connoisseur moment. Got it right that
mhm.
time.
Hey, there you go. You
There we go.
practiced
Nope.
all week.
Yeah. Well, I did have to edit that video, so I did just have to hear me screw it up a lot, a lot. But anyway, sweet paprika. Let's keep it rolling.
Let's keep it rolling. So
Uh,
that's all you got?
that's all I got. I
That's
only got
that's
5
it?
all image comics.
Yeah.
That's
So
never happened to me before.
this is I don't yeah, I think you're right.
Huh.
This is all fresh to me. Like I kind of saw as he was as my checkout guy was Will, as Will was you know checking me out with these comics. I kind of saw them
Shout
go
out to
by, but
Will.
I really don't have a full clue as to what all is in here.
So you were in a rush today, as I said earlier, ran into your shop and they just threw everything in the bag. So
Yeah,
we're
so
getting this fresh with you. You're kind of seeing what you got IRL in
yeah,
real time.
in real time. Yeah.
IRT. Yeah. Huh.
So I got there, I walked in, and I like really had to go to the bathroom. I worked a job for a bit this morning, and then I got home and I had to take my wife down to the shop, and then yeah, then it was like I got to go to the comic shop. I got to get this done. I need to go eat lunch, and then I had a
Important.
meeting. I had a meeting this afternoon, and I was just like, man, this is a very rushed day. So I walk into the comic book shop. I'm like, I'm gonna go see what's on the new shelves, see if there's anything I missed. One thing stood out. I didn't like the art inside, so I said no. And then I went to the bathroom, and then I ran up to the counter and said, and he was already like actually, he was already scanning all of my polls
Yeah.
by the time I walked up, and so I could really only argue I only saw about half of them go by. He put on my bag, I paid. I'm like, all right, see you next week. Have a good day. Uh, and that was my experience at the comic shop today. So let's see what I
Wow.
got. I got Daredevil number 7 with Wolverine on the cover.
That's dope. I
Yeah.
like that cover. I mean, it's kind of vague. If they were like, God, I wish comics were still like Wolverines turned on Daredevil.
What?
Yeah, like why not? It's implied, but why not write it on the side? Give
Yeah.
me something, Marvel.
I know, like back in the day in like the Silver Age, and they always put like a little synopsis on the cover, like they'd be saying something, or like this
Yeah,
is part 2 of this saga or whatever it is.
right. And they don't do that anymore, but they still do. Like they still name them, but it should
Yeah,
it's like okay, show that cover again. So sorry again. I feel like we're very like visual this week.
like
So
if
sorry to
this was
everyone who's
like
listening. Why is there not more
1980,
text? There's so
it'd
much
be
blank space that you can put text of being like Wolverine is out for revenge or
I must
whatever.
stop you.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh,
Why not?
I do like this detail. I didn't notice this. Wolverine's eye is like glowing red.
And he also doesn't have any armpit hair.
Well, he
I thought
shaves.
that's what you were gonna point
Yeah,
out.
no, he's a shaver.
That's not true. Wolverine's like
I know
canonically
he's
like
not.
hairy, isn't he?
He's a hairy guy.
Canonically, I mean, what does canonically mean with like the body hair of a comic book person? That's probably in flux.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, Wolverine's a hairy guy. There should be armpit there. Armpit hair there.
No, there should be armpit.
Armpit.
I don't know what a armpit is, but we're gonna find one and we're gonna throw somebody in it.
This next one is issue 12 that I note is the last issue of this series, The Dead Lucky.
Oh,
So
that's a dope cover too.
I can finally read the second arc of this series because this is the last issue. I read the first I think probably 5 or 6, and I've just been letting them build up. So I'll finally get to that, and maybe we'll see if I chat about it. This is another one I've been letting build up. I don't. I know some people out there like it. I haven't really heard anybody say anything bad about it. It's from Marvel. It's called Gods, issue number
Oh, okay.
6. So I
Yeah.
still haven't read issue 1, but this is one of those Marvel Day things. Like when it comes up, I'm like, okay, this is time to read this. Yeah, I also got the Local Man Bad Girls.
That's a wild cover too. I don't think it's
Yeah,
as bad as mine, but yeah.
yeah.
I guess they're
Um,
bad girls. I guess
and
I'm
it
sorry.
and
I'm
it
not
and it
trying to shame anybody.
And
Do live
apparently
your best
this
life.
one's not a this isn't a flip book, which is not normal for the
Well,
Local
this
Man
is a
series.
new thing, right? This is kind of like
Like a spinoff. Oh
right.
no, it's a special. So it's essentially like a one shot.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's fine. I mean, I like whatever local man's doing. I feel like it needs a little bit of a break. It just kind of keeps shotgunning stuff out, you know?
Yeah, I mean they do an arc and then they like so after the first arc, they put out Local Man Gold,
yeah.
and then I think the second arc finished up with Local Man. If not, there's like one more issue, but like now there's this Bad Girls special.
But it is number 10. It counts as number 10, correct? It says number 10 on the back.
Local Man number 10 coming at you in May 2024.
Oh no, then I screwed up in my video when I said this was Local Man number 10. So this is just Local Man Bad Girls.
Yeah.
Okay.
Special.
Yeah, you're right. Local Man coming at you. May. Wow. It says right there, everybody.
I'm really excited to get into this next one.
Ooh.
This is probably one of my favorite things running right now that hasn't wrapped up yet. The Ministry of Compliance number 4. I really like this cover, just knowing like what's going on in the story.
Yeah.
This cover is pretty prime for it.
Amazon.
And you didn't show this one.
Then I must not have got this one.
You must not have got it. But I mean,
I never finished telling this story earlier. I'm so sorry. So I said I got there like half an hour late at the least, and already on the shelf there was two empty spots on the new column. So there could be things that came out this week that were new that I didn't get, which I'm imagining what is happening, and I feel like I'm about to be very disappointed.
That's just nasty.
Oh, that's
nasty that you missed it. Nasty number 8.
Oh, it's number 8.
Yep.
No. That means
look at how much fun they're having on the front cover there. They're watching their movie, eating popcorn.
I want it to be over so bad.
Well. Yeah, maybe that's one of the ones that was empty, or maybe
it 100% was, but the whole shelf was empty. That means a lot of people are reading the nasty, which is insane to me. But it's good, but I guess I'm just like so frustrated with it. But man,
yeah. Well, and I think we talked about this maybe last week or when the last issue came out. But like issue, like for me, I really liked issue 1, 2, and 3. 4,
I'm gonna
5,
have to
and
buy
6.
it digitally.
4, 5, and 6 were kind of like, all right, get on with it. And then 7 just kind of brought me right back into where 1, 2, and 3 were. So I'm actually pretty excited about number 8. But
I mean,
yeah, I'm also
like, I kind of am too. Like, this is a little bit why my reaction's the way it is, because I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
You know that Hercules thing about being disappointed, that meme, right? No?
Maybe.
There's an episode of Hercules. I think this is a blooper. I don't know if it made it in the actual episode. But there's my dog. My dog Hercules. But in the script it's supposed to it says like yells disappointingly or something like that, and Kevin, whatever his name is, just goes disappointed. So yeah, that's how I feel right now. Yeah. Hashtag related.
I get that. You know, based on what we were saying about the earlier Marvel cover that I brought up, the cover.
Yeah.
I was about to say comic, and then
that's fair.
Switched to cover.
I'm sorry, I should have pointed out
in my brain, and then my mouth did the same thing. So you know, we're always here every week looking like idiots. So
that's right. Don't you hate when your mouth follows your brain?
But this one's good. I like this cover for the Penguin.
That's a good one. He's saying something.
He's saying something. He's staring up at the bat signal, saying, raising a glass, saying, "To your health."
And you know what, DC, I don't really ever talk about you, but I'm going to tip my hat to you, because they just put out that trailer for the Penguin, which I haven't watched, and that means that people that are interested, maybe there's a chance that there's going to be a kid going to a comic shop and his first Penguin comic that he's ever sees is one that looks like that. So that makes me happy.
Yeah, no, that's a great cover. I love it. And I really like this series as well. Well, what I got? Geez, I got a few today. Spider-Punk number 2.
That's also a good cover.
Yeah.
Wow. I feel like that's all I've been saying for you for the last like 2 weeks, is that you just have good covers.
Okay. This is why I spent a little bit more than I thought I was supposed to today. I got so I've already read issue 1 digitally, but I wanted to have I ended up getting a second printing of issue 1 of the Six Fingers.
Oh, and we were just talking about that, so I guess I know how you feel about that.
Yeah.
That's a kind of
And
cool
then
cover.
yeah, and then here's issue 2.
Look at that. Hi,
Yeah.
friend.
And last but not least, really like this series. The previous issue and this one are a different story within the story. It's like more of a prequel, but it's The Oddly Pedestrian Life of Christopher Chaos number 8, and I think this wraps up the first arc.
There's a number 8. Man,
Yeah,
these people are getting wild with their comic
but
numbers.
I don't know if I would say the issue 7 and 8 are really like first arc though. It's kind of like the special with Local Man Bad Girls. It's just kind of like a fill-in piece because there is going to be a second arc. Issue 6 of that series like completed the main story that we were all following. If you were reading, I know Ross is reading as well. And so these next two were kind of the backstory of a character who was
A caricature.
yes, a caricature
A
who was
caricature of a cake.
introduced like later into the series, but is like kind of a key figure to have. He's like
Gotcha.
like the Adam Frankenstein character.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, that's all my polls today.
Gotcha.
Knew every single one of them.
There you go. That's good.
Yeah.
So, were there any number 1s in there? I guess not. I mean, I only got one number 1 this week, but there was a couple like new number 1s at my shop, but none of them looked super
I tried,
interesting to me.
yeah. So the thing on the shelf that I was looking at was Batman Dark Ages,
Mhm.
and the cover looks super cool. The premise of it is not something that's necessarily like new. It's like,
Sure.
I guess it's exploring the origin of Batman.
Oh, that's new. I
Yeah,
guess,
totally.
I mean, that wasn't like a witty comment on my end.
And it seems like
Yeah.
like some of the panels were like Bruce Wayne as a kid. But I did not like the art inside.
Mhm.
But I also like really quickly looked at it because, as I said, I was going to the bath. I had to go to the bathroom, and I just wanted to take a quick peek at the new shelf, and it's like comics, new shelf, trade paperbacks, bathroom. So
Yeah. That's I've been there. There's been multiple times, especially after with that's like an hour 20 of my days to get there and go pee pee.
yeah,
I'll definitely want to be doing that. But I don't have a good segue. Are you ready to talk about Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees?
absolutely. Yeah. So
Dude.
I did not even like because I'm getting it digitally through Kindle,
Mm,
um, which I don't think I'm getting notifications that like it's released.
yeah.
And so you said that you had read it, and I was like, oh shoot, like I need to get that. So I think I bought it that night and read it, and probably my favorite issue.
It's real good.
Yeah.
Like,
Um,
yeah.
you
Go ahead.
go on.
No,
Uh,
you.
no,
After
me.
you.
I think like the
I
thing
insist. What are you
that I
doing?
really
Come on.
stop
Talk.
it. I'm
Stop.
trying to talk
Go.
here. I have things to say. Um, Something I really appreciate about this series is that I'm not rooting for anybody.
Mm,
I like the main character is this bear who's got her own little hardware store downtown in this dinky little podunk town in whatever state it's supposed to be in.
it's
But she
anywhere
goes,
USA, baby.
yeah, it's anywhere USA, and they're all anamorphic
Or maybe
people.
it's upstate New York. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it
But
might be. I think
yeah, because I think she goes into the city, but she doesn't. I don't
yeah,
know if she
but
says what city.
this like
It
so yeah
doesn't matter.
on the weekends she goes into the city, or like every once in a while she goes in the city for like a mental health day or whatever, and it's really just her finding somebody to murder and then bury in the woods beneath the trees where nobody sees. Um, and in the meantime, murders have been happening in the town that she lives in, but she's not the one doing them. And so she's having to solve that. And you like don't want to root for her because she's a murderer. You don't want to root for the murderer. Like if you're rooting for anybody, you're kind of rooting for like the townsfolk,
Yeah,
but
I
you
mean,
mostly feel bad for them.
I'm feel like I'm reading this more like I don't want to say a little bit like a character study, but more of just like a myth or just like a fairy tale because that's how
Yeah.
it looks. And I'm just like I'm not making any presumptions until this thing's finished. You know,
Yeah. No, I
um,
don't like if there's a moral to this thing, which I think there is, I don't think we really are gonna have a full picture of it until it is wrapped up.
is it don't kill? Is that going to be the moral?
I think it's probably like part of it, yeah. But
I think that, and probably that your sins come back to haunt you in the end.
yeah.
You know.
Um, but man, yeah, the intensity of this issue is just so high.
Mm-hmm.
Like
And I
I
feel
think
like
it's the I think it's the first one where for me in this series where I was just like, yeah, it was digitally, so I was just flicking through
clicking
like
through it.
this is a great. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, I really enjoyed this one. And just kind of I can't remember in the third issue if this new murder that like that we know of now, like was that introduced at the end of issue 3?
Yeah. And yeah, he's like the last shot, and it's very heavily implied. It isn't
Yeah, that's
like
right.
um and uh like, I'm not trying to throw a comic book guy under the bus or anything, but I pulled up like issue number 4, and he was like, "Oh yeah, the mouse is the killer." And I'm just like, "Oh, wait, don't tell me anything. I didn't like that." And he's like, "Well, it was kind of confirmed at the end of number 3." I'm like, "Yeah, but he didn't like outright say it." Um
Yeah,
yeah,
because
so
he thought somebody else was the murderer at some point.
right, and then he noticed somebody else was allergic to the lavender.
Yeah.
So
So,
I mean, it doesn't really matter. That's why I'm like, I don't feel bad. Well, it's been a month since it's been out. Or no, a week. Yeah, a week. I don't know why I thought a month.
uh,
Uh,
well, I don't know. Like, it was either a week ago or like 2 weeks ago that it came out.
Either way.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're reading this comic, this is one of the comics that you're reading like right away when you're getting it, because it's so good. But I don't really want to. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to spoil in in this issue. Rather, like, other than like the killer's
Just,
motives. I think that is like super interesting, you
well, and
know?
it's just kind of becoming a war between two killers.
Mhm. Oh, and yeah, and especially like how it ends. And that's like, yeah, I mean, I was not, and again, no spoilers, but like I was not expecting it to go like that personal,
Uh
and
huh.
like that
So quick.
so quick. So
Yeah.
quick. And like, but in like retrospect, like it kind of makes sense, because there's like an envy there, and a jealousy of like, why are
Yeah.
you not paying attention to me? I'm doing this for you, you know?
Hmm.
So yeah, you have to read this comic. If you're not reading this comic, you're depriving yourself and the people you love of good stories. If you read this comic, you'll be a better person for your community. Why do you not care about your community?
Care about your community.
Care about your community. Volunteer for local sports. If you have kids, don't do it unless you have kids. That's
Make
weird.
your kids do it.
Yeah. Make your kids play
Otherwise,
sports.
but
Break their iPad and then buy them a new one.
you do what you need to make yourself happy as an adult.
Yeah, that too. So
If it's going and playing sports, you go do that.
you make sure you take care of yourself along with taking care of your community. You can't take care of your community if you can't take care of yourself.
Uh
But speaking of kind of taking care of a community, which one comic is doing in a sense of killing people in a community,
huh. Yep.
we have this other comic about a character who seems to be like a protector of the forest to some degree.
Yeah, and it's a character we all know. It's a character that has a lot of lore and a lot of blurry sightings.
That's
Uh,
fantastic.
but yeah, this is the one of the writers, I should say, because it's created by the guy who I guess there's one guy who wrote it and one guy who edited it, and they worked in tandem on the story.
Are we gonna say what
But
it is?
Dan Price, the credited writer and creator, he reached out to us a long time ago.
I'm
Like
scared about how long ago, but
I don't
continue.
like, but it's been a busy start to the year, and so it was sitting in our inbox, and I was finally like, we need to respond. And so we chatted with him. He sent over Bigfoot Knows Karate issues 1 and 2, and yeah, it's about Bigfoot. He knows. Is it karate? Yeah, he knows karate. It says it in the title. But
You're gonna ask me what he
I was
knows?
gonna say, is it kung fu? But no, I think the person he fights in issue 1 knows kung fu, which different practice of martial arts.
Correct.
Um, but yeah, it opens up with him looking as like this protector of like the woods. It's like him observing like a landscape, and there's a bunny rabbit sitting out in the middle of it, and all of a sudden I think he like smells or hears hunters coming, and he goes and like protects the bunny.
Mm-hmm.
And then he like
Well,
makes
so
it so that the hunters have to eat their kill through a straw for the rest of their life.
I do think that the beginning is very interesting. He protects a. It looks like he's kind of gonna go kill a rabbit, but then a wolf jumps out and he takes care of the wolf.
Yeah,
Um, it did kind of make me think about this quote where it's like a lot of things in nature exist to be eaten,
yeah,
and it's just like, yeah, like you were trying to prevent something from dying by killing something, and that's kind of a weird start for me of just like, I don't understand your morals, because that thing was just eating, like that thing was doing
doing
what
it.
it
Yeah,
had to do to survive. But
but at the same time, we like to protect things that are precious, and bunny
sure,
rabbits are precious. They're so
right.
cute.
And I
They're,
and
have you
again, you
ever
have
have you ever watched any like reels or TikTok videos of rabbits eating?
yeah, I mean, it's
Oh,
adorable.
it's adorable.
I drove
Well,
past a place today that it was like adorable bunnies for sale or something like that. It was a farm. So
yeah.
if you need an adorable bunny for Easter, I'm your hookup. But you got to take care of them forever. You can't just have them for Easter. You got to have them for
Hmm.
all the Easters. Um,
Um,
yeah. Continue on telling the story, because I feel like you were doing a much better job than I was. I was just, I don't want to say criticizing. That's not the right word. I just was pointing that out. That's interesting to me.
yeah. Um,
And also, just real quick, I forgot about this comic. Eric, our buddy, our pal, says, super stoked to see y'all checking out Bigfoot Knows Karate. And again, appreciating to those guys to reaching out to us. And yeah.
yeah. So yeah, eventually it leads to him having a battle against Kung Fu Thulu, which like Thulu's this like monster with like tentacles coming out of his shoulders. He's like huge.
Hmm.
Um,
Everybody knows Cthulhu. Do you know he's like what's that guy who wasn't the best person in the world? He wrote a bunch of horror. I can't remember his name now, and I feel like an idiot because I just said you don't know Cthulhu. But yeah,
yeah,
I love a Cthulhu. Yeah, I love a good squid monster coming out of the sea. Always a fan.
I'll just say I recognize Thulu more than I can recall what Thulu looks like.
I mean, yeah, I mean this could I like the turn of a phrase of Kung Cthulhu or whatever it was. I think that was yeah, I thought the whole thing was like a HP Lovecraft. Thank you, Eric. Oh, you sweetheart, you came through. Yeah. Um yeah. So yeah, well, that's like this story is like action packed. It
It's
just is.
very action packed, and like the panel work, the art,
Mhm.
telling the story is just so good. The it honestly it kind of reminds me of kind of like if you took Samurai Jack and made it bloody.
Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking of.
Uh,
Uh I wish it
but
was
yeah,
like a little bit more obscure. It gets a little bit more obscure, like it does like in Samurai Jack. I feel like I'm just saying negative things. Like this is a great comic. It was a lot of fun. Um, but yeah, uh, yeah. I mean, the art was like top notch.
mm,
I absolutely loved it. Like, yeah, Adam Caswell, like, you're doing great. Keep up the
you're
work.
doing
Good work.
great. Um, and yeah, like and it kind of turns out it seems like a government agency or something sent Thulu, or like he's under the
Hmm.
control of them, and there's a lot of mystery that was set afoot in this too, because like it seems like there's a lot more going on in the backstory that we haven't read yet, and
Right.
like I'm interested in seeing all of that play out. But yeah, art was great. I enjoyed it like through and through.
Cthulhu through and through, Lou.
Cthulhu.
Mm.
And in the description here for issue 2, I like this because I think it's very accurate to describe the comic. But it's like, think Godzilla versus Kong meets Kill Bill with a twist of Lost.
Hmm. That's a good one.
Yeah. But yeah, it's very, very high octane. That's also in the description.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I already said, panel work was great. There is like it's not necessarily issue 3 that's coming out
Right,
soon.
it's
It
Hinagon, it's called, Bigfoot Knows
Yeah,
Karate.
Hinagon. Yeah.
Yep.
And it apparently is shipping out this month. Not sure if it shipped out already, but if you're interested, you can go to bigfootknowskarate.com. This is also part of the lesser known comics group. So you can find information there, and give Dan Price a follow. He it's Danomite.
Danomite, I like that.
Oh, it's it's Danomite's DANOMYTE 139. You can follow him at
Oh,
that handle for Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter.
let's see what we can buy. But you can buy things. Oh, it takes me up there. Okay. Yeah, definitely check that out. Thank you guys for reaching out to us. He's working on issue 3 presently, and that one is a one shot, the one that we were talking about.
Oh, right
So,
on.
yeah. Look at
Eric,
Eric all in the
Er-
know.
oh, I think Eric might be pals with Dan Price.
I love it. And I
Yeah.
appreciate him reaching out. That yeah, good stuff. I didn't get the number 2, unfortunately. I didn't have time, but definitely gonna check it out at some point.
Yeah. Issue 2 is I mean, I read them back to back, so it's hard to differentiate them. But I remember like the latter half of what I read, which would have been issue 2, being a little more high octane and a lot more like dialogue going on as well.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I loved it. Everybody go give it a shot. Give Dan a follow, and keep up with Bigfoot Knows Karate. Before we get into some spotlights, did you watch the new X-Men 97?
I haven't yet. I just asked my partner today if she was interested in watching it. She said no, so I am going to watch it on my own terms. But
Yeah.
I assume you have.
Yeah, it's definitely like a watch on my own terms thing. I don't think my wife would necessarily want to watch some animation.
Yeah, that's fair. We're in our 30s.
But I will say, probably my favorite thing is like it just really brings the nostalgia of the original series. And I had mentioned to Ross, it was like one thing I noticed was just how bad the mouth movement was, even in this new series.
That's
Of
cool.
just like it's just like up and down mouth movement that isn't
awesome.
necessarily in sync with like the syllables, or if you're really like paying attention to that, it doesn't look like they're saying what they're saying. It doesn't look like they're saying anything at all, really.
And I respect that because like we live in a time, especially with AI, that you could just like change the mouth movements no problem and keep the
Yeah.
animation style. But it's great that they're just like, nah, we'll just do it and we'll just throw different languages on top because that's what the reason they used to do it, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, no, I really like it. I think the new episode came out today. I think it's
Okay.
a Wednesday release, so there should be 3 episodes to watch.
All right. Yeah, then that's not bad. Then I'll jump on that and maybe try getting on weekly. Maybe we can do a little X-Men spot.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Speaking of spots and spotlights, you got anything
Spotlighting.
you want to spotlight this week?
I do want to spotlight something. Man's Best, number 1
Ooh.
from good old Boom
Is
Studios.
this the pet perspective?
This is the pet perspective. So I thought that this comic started in a super interesting way. If you open up here, you see that there are 3 different pets, 2 dogs and a cat, and they're like fighting this big like robot creature. And they all have like different weapons. They have like one has a jetpack, one has like a mech suit, and I forget what the other one has. But they like are fighting, and they're like the cat is supposed to be the leader, and he's not doing a good job. He or she, I can't remember.
Sometimes it's hard
And
to know with cats.
it is hard to know with cats. And it after like they kind of get defeated, it like reveals that it's like a test simulator, and that like it's just this like AI interface thing or whatever on this spaceship, and that these dogs are all they say that they're like, what are they called, like the pets that you take with you for like aid or something like that. Do you know what
Oh,
I'm
like
talking about?
service dogs?
Service dogs, thank you. Yeah, so they're supposed to be like her service dogs, but like service dogs I don't know if you're supposed, and again, this is like set in the future, and I feel like I'm just like in full like critic mode tonight, but I don't know if you're supposed to like train those dogs with like AI interfaces. I don't know. Anyways, so I'm trying to like suspend disbelief. I appreciate the fact that they're trying to put service dogs like in this, and somebody who would have a service dog. But anyways, it's revealed that they're on this spaceship and they're going to this planet that apparently has just disappeared. And while they're like looking for, they're like at where the planet should be, and then it just magically reappears and they get sucked in to the planet. And like, the spaceship crashes, and when all the pets wake up, the um the lady and like everyone else on board, and there's like this thing called like the don't touch machine, which is like what the animals call it. It's probably, it's some tech, something like that.
Something
uh
beyond their understanding.
yeah. And so they're just off to get it. And so the back of it, I think I can't remember if it says this, but it's no, it's essentially like, what's that movie called with the three animals that go on that journey?
Homeward Bound.
It's like Homeward Bound in Space is what
Ah,
they said it. But my favorite thing about it, and the reason I wanted to like specifically spotlight this, is because when it's in the animal's perspective, everything in the world looks different and is like more animated and like looks more like, and this was from like that first like the first perspective that we see of the dogs. Like everything is a lot more like scary, or it's a lot
mm,
more like of a rugged world. And so now then we get a look from the human's perspective, and it's just kind of like a spaceship and everything's technology. And so when they crash, it's from the animal's perspective and everything looks like scary, and they're seeing like they fight somebody in this. And so I'm like, I wonder what that was in like real life, and
mm.
I think that's what like the story isn't necessarily. I mean, it's a really cool concept that like they have to go try to find this lady, and it's interesting because like their whole job is to keep this lady safe. So like they feel like they have a mission now,
Yeah,
so yeah, it's interesting. It wasn't like my favorite thing I've ever read, but yeah, it was fun for sure.
nice.
Yeah. How
Yeah,
about you?
I mean,
Anything?
when you brought up the pet perspective thing, it made me think of what I'm currently reading, Animal Pound.
I guess I didn't even really finish that point, but like it is like, and especially as someone who has like cats and dogs, it's like very easy to like be like, oh, like, and
Hmm.
I'm very susceptible to that. I also hated in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 where Baby Groot like cries like a baby when it's like getting crushed. I'm like, that's a little too much for me, James Gunn. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's just me and my sensibilities. I was also upset about a comic book cover with a lady in a bikini on it earlier. So apparently I'm just a prude.
Yeah,
Anyways,
yeah.
what did you get into
You'll,
this week, you stud?
I guess, I think, well, two of the things I read were issue twos. I didn't read a whole lot this week. I did
Oh,
get
that's
into a little
silly.
bit of Marvel, but that's another time, another story. And then I've read a final issue of the Bone Orchard Mythos Tenement. I think that's what I'll talk about because that's probably the most fresh on my mind.
Hmm.
Um, this one, I think I stated like when the series first started dropping, and this was a 10 issue story, part of the Bone Orchard Mythos, which has had, I think, three other stories come out, but they're all tied together, and we haven't really known how they were tied together.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't think Tenement's like the last in the Bone Orchard Mythos. I think there's still something coming down the line for it. But this one, it just wrapped up really well. um, a lot of unexpected death happens in this final issue.
Oh.
It's like because it seemed painted for survival, and like this doesn't have a happy ending to it.
Oh no.
I don't think any of the Bone Orchard Mythos books necessarily have a happy ending to them.
That's fair.
But
Yeah, I
but
can
yeah,
see that.
the important thing is two characters do make it out. And I don't want to, this is like a no spoiler review.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it was just like you follow all these characters, you're getting to know them for 9 issues, and there's 7 characters, I think. Well, there's more than 7, but there's like kind of 7 primary characters and like one like super primary character. And pretty much all of them are dead in this last issue.
Oh.
And it was just like watching it kind of happen kind of gave me the same feeling as like in Infinity War when Thanos snapped and people just started disappearing. Like that's kind of the feeling I got out of this last issue with like watching these people die.
Yeah, they're not coming back in Endgame.
No. There's no reverse snap.
Do you think there could have been a better title for Endgame?
I don't know, because I think it's in Infinity War when Doctor Strange said to Tony Stark, like, we're in the end game now.
Yeah, but he also said other things.
He did. He did say quite a few things in that movie, but like,
I understand that that's like the reason that they gave it. I still don't think that that's a good name, but
yeah,
what
would you have titled it, Mr. Knows Hollywood so well?
Here's what I'll say. If you're going to call it Endgame and then continue to go on, you might have picked the wrong name for something.
It was the end game with Thanos.
Yeah, but then they kept going, and they shouldn't have, I guess, is my major point. But
okay.
Anyways, I don't know what I would have named it. It just seems like it's not from anything. It's not very like, I don't think it's super clever, like Endgame. We're just, where are we at now? It's the end game. This is it. Yep. Like, I don't know. Anyways,
I see your point, but
if you would disagree, like that's fine.
I
if
like
you
it.
It's good.
I think Endgame's a great title.
Good. Sign off in the comments. What do you think?
Here's what I want to know in the comments. Tied into that. Rank the Avengers movies. What's your favorite Avengers movie and what's your least favorite?
1, 3, 2, 4. No, 1. Yeah, probably in that order. That was my first instinct. I don't think I like
1, 3, 2, 4.
Yeah.
So 1. So Avengers,
classic Infinity Avengers, War. I think is a perfect movie. Infinity
War. Then Infinity War, and then Age of Ultron, and then Endgame.
I like Age of Ultron. I know a lot of people don't, but Endgame, yeah, I don't know.
Here's my take.
All right, let's hear it.
Avengers, the first one, is by far my favorite. Like, I agree with you. Like, that was just a perfect movie. It was the first one to bring like the MCU characters really all together, and it was executed so well. The only reason I like Age of Ultron is, well, one, it's a good continuation of the story. I just don't think the movie overall was as great, but like James Spader absolutely nailed it as Ultron.
Yeah, I think he did a very good job.
And so
I would have loved to see more of Ultron. It's a shame that he's probably gone. You know,
I mean, Ultron always comes back and somehow.
Yeah, but they don't have time for that, do they? Now, Mark.
We'll see. We'll see.
Why am I so cynical tonight? Are they going to do all the stories? Every comic book ever written is going to become a movie at one point.
And then I would probably put Endgame and then Infinity War. Sorry. Well, Age of Ultron is like my least favorite of the 4. I didn't state that.
Okay.
But then it would be, so it goes Avengers, Endgame, Infinity War, and then Age of Ultron.
You think Endgame's better than Infinity War?
Yeah.
Really? Sign off in the comments. Yeah, why would you say that? What makes it a better movie?
I think mostly for me, it just comes down to like the final battle of Endgame. And like I know it's probably a little more stereotypical of me, but it's just like having every single one of the Avengers, and when Captain America goes, Avengers assemble, and like they all pop out of the portals and whatnot. Like that was just such a cool like cinematic moment to me.
I agree, but I feel like it would have been more impactful for me personally if there wasn't 10,000 other people coming through and it was just Avengers coming through. Because it's like, it kind of mitigates like, well, who are all these people now Avengers? You know, like what, like, and I get it, but it is, I think that part of the issues with the Avengers movies is that they just the enemies always just became big armies. Like they were just like that's what the Chitauri in number one, um, the
Yeah.
Ultron bots in the second one, the like the Raiders or whatever they were called in the second one, and then like just Thanos' army. Our friend Rachel says Infinity War, Avengers, and Endgame. You missed Age of Ultron, so I'm guessing that's number 3 or number 4.
4. Yeah.
Um,
And now that you're like saying that, like I see your point. Um, because it's also too in like in Avengers when they're fighting the what Chitauri.
Chitauri. It
Chitauri.
it is
Um,
just the 7 of them or whatever.
it's yeah, it's just the Avengers fighting them, and like that's so cool.
Mhm.
But like also
'Cause
like in
you don't get
Endgame during
comment.
the fight, like I mean, a lot of the extra characters are like the Wakandan army or just the people of Wakanda.
Yeah, but also, like, the wizards. Like, they also brought through wizards. So, like, yeah, like, Wong comes through, remember? And he brings all magical people.
Right.
That's who's doing the spells. Like, it's not
Yeah.
just, um
Yep. Yeah.
so, like and I'm sure that, I mean, I was gonna say Hank Pym was there, but I don't think he was. But, like, I don't know. I think I what would have made that super special and anti because who cares? Because we're not when you're watching those scenes and you're not watching to see just stuff happening in the background. You're watching to see what Carol Danvers is doing with the Infinity Gauntlet. And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter that because as she's flying, there's like a bunch of chaos happening around her. But does that need to be there? I think
Right.
it's just a part of our culture's just overstimulation problem, and just we can't have just 10 people fight in a purple man, you know? Because that's what
Yeah.
you would get in the comics. And I
Yeah.
guess
It's true.
I haven't read a Marvel comic in a long time, but the last event crossover I read was Empire. And even in that, where it was literal armies fighting each other, you're still focusing just on these main characters and the battles and the important fights that they're doing, not the big whatever. And I think that's I don't think they needed to do that with Ultron either. Make all those bots because then they literally
Yeah.
just put them in a circle and then they just did a camera panning around them while people are pretending to fight. You know?
Yeah. And I'll also say this about Infinity War. The last time I watched it, I liked it a lot more, I think, than I suppose that I did.
Oh
Um, so it's really great. And at that, you may have convinced me to flip flop them.
yeah. I mean, Endgame is a lot of fun. I mean, I love seeing the Hulk and Ant-Man interact and all that stuff, but I do think that is I don't know. I do think obviously they're made by different movies, but Avengers 1 and 2 are they feel a lot more gritty and ground not gritty, but a little bit more real than
Yeah.
by Infinity War and Endgame, everything is just CGI, you know?
Yeah.
Not that everything wasn't in those previous movies, but it felt like they were actually walking around cities and stuff where all the later movies are set in space or just at the Infinity or at the Avengers uh compound or whatever it's called, compound.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's getting late and I got to go to bed.
Yeah. Well, just to kind of touch up real quick here, I also read Displaced and You and I this week.
The Doctor
Yes, the
Strange
Doctor
movies were
Strange movies are awesome.
they are.
The first one is very high on my list of MCU movies.
Agreed.
The Displaced continues to be just wow. Just I I still can hold on to the feeling of finishing issue 1 and it's the same feeling I had finishing issue 2. There's just a lot of turns in it where it's kind of expected. There's some foreshadowing that leads to a lot, but it's all still so mysterious. And we don't really know what's going on in this world where towns are just being swallowed up by the earth and then everybody's forgetting about them except for the survivors.
Mm.
Um, and then U of I issue 2 was so good. It was just a real thriller. They do a really good job of because there's the two main characters, you and I, and the panel work kind of goes back and forth between their perspectives. And
Mm.
there's even one page in this one where it's what I says and what you hears.
I like that.
And it was really good. I'm really
Because I
glad I
bet
hopped
they're
onto this
not the
city.
same. And doesn't that say something about relationships and interpersonal connections? And I tried to get heady, and it didn't. I stopped real quick.
Yeah. So, big fan of both of these series. I don't know how long they're going for, but I'm on board for them. So
I just realized we've had Jester Lou in the description of going underneath us for 2 episodes. So shout out to Travis Gibbs. Oh, that's funny. He's getting extra plugs on this. Oh wow, that's real silly.
I mean, he is a pal.
He is a pal. So yeah, he's got fantastic comics. So go check those out. We should throw a random pal in there every week and just be like, hey, check out this guy.
You're next, Eric.
That's right. All right. Well, you want to land a bird? You want to get sucked into a planet that randomly pops up out of nowhere?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So yeah, if you're following us live, thanks for being here and sticking with us. If you're listening or watching this later, thank you. You can find us on all the social medias as the pullboxpals. You can find me specifically at Matt_nerdy on Instagram, and you can find Monk at thatmonkguy89 on Instagram. We love chatting comics, hearing what people like, dislike, what they liked about something, what they didn't like about something. I love hearing it all. So reach out to us there. You can watch us here on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook Live. You can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your pods. And just make sure to do all those little good things that help us out. Subscribe and comment and like and do those things. It makes us feel good.
You hear those? Do you hear those clickings? That's you subscribing. Yeah. Wow. We're ending on a high note tonight.
Sure are. We've both been rushing around all day. I feel.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. Well, you go take a nap. I was going to say the eternal nap, but I'm probably going to survive today. I've had a good track record so far, so I'll probably see you next week. Now I feel like I jinxed myself. If I'm not here next week, how did I die? I got hit by an asteroid that was a cosmic space train that was carrying the 5th issue of Junction Jones, whichever one got canceled that I didn't get to read.
I think that's right. Or the fourth issue.
4th. I feel like, I don't know. It doesn't. I want them all. Just give them to me all. I mean, Scout, give me my comics. And on that note, I'm gonna say, what's our comment there? Embrace your inner comic. Oh boy. Sweet paprika.